The story of America begins long before the Mayflower. It starts thousands of years ago on a land bridge swallowed by time. This bridge, the Bering Strait, was a pathway. It connected Asia and North America. Across this frozen expanse they walked. Hunters, families, dreamers. The first Americans, they came seeking sustenance, driven by instinct and perhaps a spirit of adventure. Imagine their awe. A new world unfurled before them. Vast plains teeming with bison. Towering forests whispering ancient secrets. This land, so different, became their home. They adapted, thrived, and created vibrant cultures. From the Inuit shaping their lives amidst Arctic ice to the Pueblo people crafting their homes into the cliffs of the Southwest, a tapestry of civilizations emerged. These were nations of storytellers, weavers, warriors, and farmers. Their legacy, though often overlooked, is woven into the fabric of America. It's a reminder that this land has always been a place of many peoples, many stories. Centuries passed, the whispers of a new world reached across the Atlantic. European powers, hungry for wealth and glory, set sail. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, funded by the Spanish crown, landed in the Caribbean. He believed he had reached the Indies, but this was a new land, rich with resources and possibilities. Other explorers followed. The Dutch established trading posts along the Hudson River. The French explored the vast interior, forging alliances with Native American tribes. English settlers seeking religious freedom and new opportunities arrived on the shores of what is now Virginia and Massachusetts. The arrival of Europeans brought irreversible change. Colonization led to conflict. Native Americans defending their lands and ways of life clashed with the newcomers. Treaties were signed and broken. Diseases brought from across the ocean ravaged indigenous populations. The stage was set for a clash of cultures, the ramifications of which are still felt today. The 13 colonies clinging to the eastern seaboard grew in strength and spirit, but the relationship with Great Britain, the mother country, became strained. Taxes levied without representation fueled resentment. The cry of "No taxation without representation" echoed through the streets of Boston. The Boston Tea Party, an act of defiance against British rule, became a spark. Revolution was in the air. In 1776, the Continental Congress, meeting in Philadelphia, took a bold step. They declared their independence from Great Britain. The Declaration of Independence, penned by Thomas Jefferson, proclaimed the revolutionary idea that all men are created equal. The American Revolution was a brutal test. Farmers and shopkeepers became soldiers. George Washington, a Virginia planter, emerged as their leader. From the battlefields of Lexington and Concord to the bitter winter at Valley Forge, the colonists fought for their ideals. Against all odds, they prevailed. The victory at Yorktown in 1781 secured their independence. A new nation conceived in liberty was born. The fight for independence was over, but the struggle to build a nation was just beginning. The Articles of Confederation, the first attempt at a government, proved too weak. The Founding Fathers, aware of the challenges, gathered again in Philadelphia, their task to create a new framework for governance. The result was the United States Constitution, a document that has weathered the storms of time. It established a system of checks and balances, dividing power between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, guaranteed fundamental freedoms such as speech, religion, and assembly. The early years of the Republic were fraught with challenges. The War of 1812, a conflict with Great Britain over maritime rights, tested the young nation's resolve. Internal divisions over slavery and states' rights simmered. But through it all, the nation grew, expanded westward, and established itself as a force on the world stage. Section 5. A Nation Divided, Westward Expansion, and the Civil War. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the United States. The American spirit of adventure, fueled by the promise of land and opportunity, pushed settlers westward. Wagon trains snaked their way across the Great Plains, following the Oregon Trail to the Pacific. The American frontier, a place of hardship and hope, became a powerful symbol. But westward expansion came at a cost. The issue of slavery, a moral stain on the nation's soul, could no longer be ignored. The question of whether slavery should be allowed to expand into new territories divided the nation. Abolitionists in the North condemned the institution as a moral abomination. Slaveholders in the South defended it as an economic necessity. In 1860, with the election of Abraham Lincoln, the nation reached a breaking point. 11 southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The Civil War, a bloody conflict that pitted brother against brother, engulfed the nation. Section 6. The Echoes of Freedom, Reconstruction and Social Change. After 4 long years of bloodshed, the Union prevailed. The Confederacy was defeated, slavery was abolished, and the nation was reunited. But the scars of the Civil War ran deep. Reconstruction, the effort to rebuild the South and integrate freed slaves into society, was a complex and often painful process. The echoes of freedom resonated throughout the nation. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution abolished slavery, guaranteed equal protection under the law, and granted voting rights to African American men. But the struggle for equality was far from over. Jim Crow laws in the South enforced segregation and discrimination. Lynchings and racial violence terrorized black communities. Despite these challenges, African Americans persevered, building lives and communities, and fighting for their rightful place in American society. Section 7. The Rise of Industry and its Discontents. The late 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed a period of unprecedented industrial growth. The rise of railroads, steel mills, and oil refineries transformed the American landscape. Cities swelled with immigrants seeking opportunity. Inventors and entrepreneurs like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford ushered in an era of technological innovation. But, the benefits of industrialization were not shared equally. Workers, often toiling in dangerous conditions for low wages, began to organize. Labor unions, fighting for better pay, safer workplaces, and the right to collective bargaining, emerged as a powerful force. The Progressive Era, a period of social reform, sought to address the problems of industrialization. Muckrakers, journalists who exposed corruption and injustice, galvanized public opinion. Reformers fought for child labor laws, workplace safety regulations, and women's suffrage. The seeds of social change were sown. Section 8. The World at War, Global Conflicts and Domestic Change. The 20th century dawned with optimism, but the world was on the brink of upheaval. World War I engulfed Europe and drew the United States into the fray in 1917. American soldiers in France helped turn the tide of war. The Roaring Twenties brought economic prosperity and cultural change, but the good times were short-lived. The stock market crash of 1929 plunged the nation into the Great Depression. World War II erupted in 1939. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 brought the United States into the war. American soldiers fought on multiple fronts. On the home front, women took on new roles, supporting the war effort. Section 9. The Dawn of a New Era, Post-War America and the Cold War. The end of World War II ushered in a new era. The United States emerged as a global superpower, but the world was divided. The Cold War, a geopolitical struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, cast a long shadow over the second half of the 20th century. The post-war years also witnessed a period of social and cultural change. The civil rights movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., challenged segregation and discrimination. The counterculture of the 1960s questioned traditional values and norms. The space race, a competition between the United States and the Soviet Union, captured the world's imagination. The landing of Apollo 11 on the moon in 1969 marked a triumph of human ingenuity and a defining moment in American history. Section 10. America in the New Millennium, From Triumph to Uncertainty. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked the end of the Cold War. The United States emerged as the sole superpower, but new challenges arose. Globalization and technological innovation brought both opportunities and anxieties. The 9/11 attacks in 2001 shook the nation, leading to wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Political polarization and economic inequality present significant challenges. Climate change poses an existential threat, yet the spirit of America endures.